The floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, everybody. So we'll get right to it, and I will call to order the Public Improvement Commission hearing of February 8th, 2024. Mr. Lyman, please take a roll call.
Certainly. Would the representative from the Public Works Department please state his or her name for the record?
Yasha Franklin Hodge.
Property Management Department?
Here.
Transportation Department?
Amy Cording.
Inspectional Services Department?
Brian Ronan.
Water and Sewer Commission?
Denise Devlin.
Commission for Persons with Disabilities?
Sarah Liao.
Full quorum.
Thank you very much, Todd. Before we get into the agenda, I will just note that I will need to hand over the chair to Mr. Jaya Singh at 11 o'clock. So if I duck out and he takes over, that is what's happening. With that, we can get to our first item of business, which is hearing minutes 1 at the request of the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of the minutes of the PIC hearing held on January 25th, 2024. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of January 25th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. On to our next item, public hearing continued number 1 on a petition by Atlantic Oliver Mass LLC for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to Island Street Public Way, Roxbury, located on the southerly side west of Massachusetts Avenue. So as new business on January 11th, 2024, had its public hearing on January 25th, 2024, as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Pedestrian Easement Plan, 909 Massachusetts Avenue and Island Street, Boston, Roxbury, one sheet dated January 17th, 2022, revised November 11th, 2023. Would the petitioners please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and let us know how you'd like to proceed today.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Good morning, everybody. Attorney Nick Zazula, McDermott, Quilty, Miller and Hanley, LLP, permitting attorneys for the petitioners, Atlantic Oliver Mass LLC. Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, we'd like to again request a continuance. We've been working very hard with Todd and staff to try and understand what needs to be done on Mass Ave from a street lighting perspective. I think we're very close. But we're just not ready to show the plans and to have final plans ready for you. And we're also need to update our LMI as well, our draft LMI, and we want to make sure that, as you had mentioned at our new business hearing, to have that buttoned up before we came back to you. So I do think we'll be ready for the 29th, but we do need a little more time. So our request would be for another continuance, please.
Understood and appreciate the continued work and dialogue on those small outstanding issues, and I'm hopeful that we'll get those resolved as well. So not a problem. Do I hear a motion to continue public hearing continued number 1?
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing continued number 1 as read into the record by the chair to February 29th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. On to public hearing continued number 2 on a petition by Atlantic Oliver Mass LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Roxbury, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, street lighting infrastructure, landscaping, and driveway curb cuts. Massachusetts Avenue on its southwesterly side at address numbers 903 to 909, generally southeast of Island Street west of Massachusetts Avenue. New business on January 11th, public hearing on January 25th, as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan, 909 Massachusetts Avenue and Island Street, Boston, Roxbury, one sheet dated January 17th, 2022, revised November 11th, 2023. Would the petitioners please reintroduce themselves and let us know how you'd like to proceed on this action as well.
Yeah, again, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Attorney Nick Zazula, McDermott, Quilty, Miller and Hanley, 28 State Street in Boston, here on behalf of Atlantic Oliver Mass LLC, the petitioner. As for the first matter, we'd also like to request a continuance here until February 29th. Please.
Do I hear a motion to continue? Public hearing continued, number 2.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing continued number 2 as read into the record by the chair till February 29th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. All right, thank you, Nick. We'll see you in 3 weeks, and hopefully everything can get sorted out in the interim.
We'll do our best. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have a good.
All right, see ya. On to our next item, public hearing number 1 on a joint petition by Cronin Dry Dock LLC and the Economic Development and Industrial Corporation of Boston, DBA, the Boston Planning and Development Agency, for the granting of a projection license for the installation of a canopy over a portion of the sidewalk within Dry Dock Avenue Private Way, South Boston, located on its northerly side at address number 24, generally east of Tide Street, new business from January 25th. Shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Projection License Plan, 24 Dry Dock Avenue, South Boston, one sheet dated March 16th, 2023, revised December 14th, 2023. Would the petitioners please introduce themselves, their affiliations, give us a very brief reintroduction to this, and a update on any changes since your last hearing.
Great. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners, for your time again today. I'm Caitlin McCarthy. I'm representing Cronin Development on this project. We also have Sean O'Grady and Michael Coneve on the line, and representing us legally is John Polgini. As Yasha mentioned, we are co-petitioners with the EDIC. Typically, we would not go through this process. However, the roads are expected to be transferred over to the city in the future. So we are going through this process to ensure that everybody's aligned and on the same page with this canopy. I'll now quickly pull up presentation. So 24 Dry Dock Avenue in the Ray L. Flynn Marine Park. You can see the location here. We have Tide Street and Dry Dock Avenue. This is the canopy that's the matter of this item, and it really adds to the entrance of the building. And we have designed it in accordance with typical PIC regulations, which is that there's a 15-foot minimum vertical clearance, and it will extend 4.5 feet onto the sidewalk.
Caitlin, apologies for interrupting, but we're seeing a spreadsheet on your screen. We're not seeing the plan rendering.
Thank you for flagging.
Sure.
Great. Is this the correct screen?
There we go. That's a rendering. Perfect.
Thank you so much. So, as I mentioned, 24 Dry Dock, this is going to be a 237,000 square foot life science building in the Ray L. Flynn Marine Park. We have, it's right along Dry Dock Avenue near the intersection of Tide Street. The canopy that we're talking about today is this canopy that overhangs the sidewalk. As I mentioned, there's a minimum vertical clearance of 15 feet and the projection of 4.5 feet. There are also snow and ice mitigations built in to ensure that the rain and snow are properly drained. If there's any questions, happy to answer them, but otherwise I'll turn that over back to the chair.
Thank you very much for that. I guess my first question is just, I know that there was some discussion last two times around about the kind of review of any specific repairs, understanding that this is going to be turned over to the city at some point in the street. What was the conclusion of that discussion?
Mr. Chair, Matt Donovan from the Boston Planning and Development Agency. When you say specific repairs, do you mean the future improvements that are going to accompany the ground-up development at the site?
Correct. Yes. Sorry, I was not very clear in that statement. Understanding that there will be additional changes to this street, which, were this to currently be a public way, would be under the purview of PIC. We had talked about making sure that those changes got some kind of a review by the commission in anticipation of the street handover, and wanted to confirm if we had arrived at a conclusion about how that would happen and if everyone was in agreement on that.
Yes, I believe we are. I shared language with Todd. The proponent and I still have to work on the language and how it's going to read exactly, but conceptually, I think we're all in agreement that before the issuance of an initial building permit, this sort of same process will come through with whatever the improvement is. If it was There are other examples that I'm sure will be forthcoming from other projects, and this is going to be the standard that we use for everything. So whether it was, a projection license or if it was streetscape improvements, it's going to be the same process. That language is going to live in the cooperation agreement so that we can monitor it through the project's development for this one, but similar language would go in depending on what the agreement were to be. But for this project in particular, it's going to live in the cooperation agreement before initial building permit. This team will be back to show those improvements in basically the same timeline that they're going through BPDA design review.
Excellent. That's great to hear. Todd, are you comfortable with where we're at on that?
Yeah, Matt and John and I have been working on all of that language, and Chung, to make sure that we memorialize all of that. But I think we're in a good place, and we all understand how that's going to work.
Awesome. Appreciate folks figuring that out, both for this project, but also as a template for future stuff. I think that'll serve us well. So thank you for that. I have no other questions. Commissioners, questions, comments? Hearing none, PIC staff or members of the public?
No, all set. I will take this opportunity to let the public know if you want to ask questions or add testimony, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. I do not see any at this time, though.
All right, seeing no other questions, do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 1?
I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by Cronin Dry Dock LLC and the Economic Development and Industrial Corporation of Boston, DBA, the Boston Planning and Development Agency, for granting a projection license and dry dock ad as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, on to public hearing number 2 on a petition by BP3 BOS 5 55 Summer Street LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Boston proper, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk and tree pit reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, traffic signal infrastructure, street lighting infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, landscaping, green stormwater infrastructure, bike racks, and driveway curb cuts. Summer Street at address number 55, generally southeast of Chauncey Street generally southwest of Summer Street, Kingston Street on its northwesterly side, generally between Summer Street and Bedford Street. New business on January 25th, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan, 55 Summer Street, Kingston Street, Summer Street, Chauncey Street, Boston, 5 sheets dated February 6, 2024. Petitioners, please introduce themselves, their affiliations, give us a brief reintroduction to the project, and then walk us through anything that has changed since your last hearing.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the time. Sean Holman with Simpson, Gumpertz and Hager, engineer on the job. We also have Emmanuel DeAndrade, who will be driving the screen today, also from SGH, and Gannon DePetris from Phase 3. Again, thank you for your time in reviewing this submission. First off, I'll start by saying we had a series of several productive meetings with many folks that are on the call today. Just want to thank you all for your valuable input, feedback, and the cooperation with trying to work to achieve this goal here. This 55 Summer Street project is the general work is an interior renovation to convert the existing office building at 55 Summer Street to a mixed office and research development facility. As part of this, there was specific plaza and sidewalks on plazas on Chauncey and Summer Street and sidewalk on Kingston Street. We presented our scope during the last meeting, had several comments that I'll walk through the comments and then the proposed solutions that we arrived at in the last 2 weeks. First off, we'll start on Kingston Street. This is the loading dock entrance ramp. The main comment here was to provide a minimum 5-foot walkway at the driveway entrance. We were able to modify the curb corner from a 6-foot diameter curb corner to a 3-foot diameter curb corner. And we're actually able to make that work. So right now we have a 5.2-foot minimum with walking width on this pathway. Moving on to the next topic. Actually, maybe we'll Chair, I don't know how you want to would you like to keep this up for comment, or do you want to just proceed to the next area?
We can move through all the changes and
Okay,
then
great.
jump back to where we need to.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, now moving on to the Chauncey Street, Summer Street, Arch Street intersection. Here's where we have some plaza repairs, plaza improvements ongoing, some sidewalk repairs, as well as the addition of several handicap access ramps. One of the main comments here was on the Macy's side. This is the corner opposite the subject property. One comment made here was whether or not this existing apex ramp was accessible or not. Upon following the meeting, actually the day after the meeting, we went out to just confirm the slopes of the ramps and landings. We actually found that one of the landings was 0.5% off. So that being said, we wanted to make it fully compliant. So in order to do so, you can see the scope of work that's going to be necessary here. So we basically replacing all of the concrete panels shown in dark black, as well as readjusting some of the curb, vertical granite curb, just because some of the slopes weren't compliant there. So we're adjusting that. There's some coordination that needs to be done with Eversource. We have to lower a couple of their existing manholes in this area. We're going to coordinate with them. Shouldn't be an issue once construction progresses. Moving on to, excuse me, the Arch Street, Summer Street reciprocal ramp. So on our side, we're calling to install a new accessible ramp here. And the main comment initially was that the crosswalk was at a skew. So we made it perpendicular. We did so by extending the curb out into Summer Street and providing more of a landing so that we could actually make the slopes work. So you can see it is now reciprocal and perpendicular to the proposed ramp on the subject property side. And we do have an accessible path that extends up the ramp close to the building where it eventually meets the existing conditions. Okay. Next on the agenda, we had some comments from the Office of Green Infrastructure. And we had a productive meeting with them yesterday and arrived at some conclusions here. Originally, we had it shown as where the tree planters are, and we had that shown as a permeable paver system. But we actually made a change to that. If you can pull up that plan here. So we've changed that. We're going to not install the permeable pavers, but we're going to change that to a fenced vegetated swale. And one thing we do need to coordinate here is the existing fire hydrant that we'd like to maintain, but we will utilize some approved details for this type of condition. Rachel has, the Green Infrastructure Group has actually submitted that, sent us some details that we're going to coordinate and get those fully compliant with approved details that they have here. We originally had some bike racks within this planter section, the paver section, I'm sorry, but we took those out of the planter section and we moved them over to the Chauncey Street side. We have several at the curb line, three of them at the curb line at that corner, and then we pulled two close to the building, right at the corner of the building face there. At this corner, Green Infrastructure had suggested putting in some green infrastructure. We looked at this, and given the need for the heavy pedestrian traffic that is and will be there as a result of the added bus stops that will be here, and the existing utility infrastructure and MBTA infrastructure, we really found we couldn't fit more green infrastructure here at this corner. We're exploring the option of putting in permeable pavers at the curb line, again, but given the high pedestrian traffic here and the potential for pavers to become dislodged or become tripping hazards, we really wanted to create a solid concrete surface here to provide a means of egress here. With that, I think that is all the changes that we've made. Hopefully we did address all of them, all the comments that you had. Open for any questions, comments that you may have.
Commissioners, questions, comments?
The crosswalk at the top of the screen across Arch Street, what happens with that?
So the scope of work, we stopped the scope of work at the, just prior to the existing handicap ramp that's there. We maintained the existing slopes of that ramp, and based on discussions with Sarah at that time, it was intended to leave that as is.
So Amy, it's not a reciprocal that they're responsible for. And I believe the city will be in this area, hopefully within the next 5 years, to address another accessibility issue. So we're hoping that we can coordinate with the Public Works Department to address the rest of the intersection.
Yeah, I mean, because we should bump that whole corner out because nobody turns around this wild radius. Yeah, I just want to make sure the crosswalk was coming back. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's you know, the scope is going to stop prior to the existing crosswalk there, and you know, I think yeah, I think that's where we're stopping ours. I mean, if that's that seemed to appear to be acceptable at that time.
So I do want to thank the team for getting these changes in fairly quickly. We certainly appreciate you guys taking our feedback.
Yeah, I mean, you know, thank you for taking the time to provide us the feedback, really.
Commissioners, questions, additional questions, comments? I have one related to the bioswale. Appreciate the work with the green infrastructure team to enhance the green infrastructure in the area, and I think it will be both good for stormwater and also an attractive feature in the area. However, I do want to confirm that you will be taking on maintenance responsibilities for that bioswale through your LMI. Is that correct?
Correct. That will be documented in the LMI.
Excellent. All right, great. All right, seeing no other questions from the commission, PSC staff or members of the public?
I just want to put on record that my understanding is the project will also be taking on maintenance of those 3 trees within that bioswale as part of the LMI.
Confirmed.
Great. No other comments or questions?
All right, with that, do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 2?
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by BP3 BOS 555 Summer Street LLC for the making of specific repairs in Summer Street, Chauncey Street, Kingston Street, as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes the public hearing section of our agenda. So on to new business, starting with new business number 1, Conley Street at 900 William T. Morrissey Boulevard, Dorchester, specific repairs on a petition by the Community Builders Incorporated, DBA Morrissey Boulevard 121A LP. The petitioners please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and walk us through what you are proposing to do.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Michael Malinowski. I'm with Allen and Major Associates. With me, I have Echo and Suzanne from the Community Builders. And I will share my screen. Can everybody see?
Yes.
Okay. Our project is located at 900 Morrissey Boulevard. The specific repairs that we are doing extend from the crosswalk at Morrissey Boulevard to the north to the existing overhead railroad bridge in this location. We are proposing to install a 8.5-foot wide sidewalk. Currently, there is no sidewalk on Connolly Street. The request has come through the BPDA as part of the overall permitting process for the project. The project is the conversion of the existing hotel that currently sits at that property. The community builders, in conjunction with the Pine Street Inn, plan to convert and renovate the existing hotel into 99 units of permanent supportive housing for seniors who've experienced chronic homelessness. Part of the proposal is to take out the vast expanse of parking within the property and provide landscaping. We are also proposing to realign the driveways. Currently, there is a driveway at this location here that sort of circle around in front of the building. We plan to close that off, provide a pedestrian sidewalk, and reconstruct a fully compliant driveway entrance at this location. This will also provide better circulation through the front of the building and drop off for the main concourse. As I zoom in, there are several trees that exist along Connolly Street. We have one here, here, total of 3 that are being maintained. We are providing a 3-foot by 8-foot pit in that location. We have had some discussions with different departments relative to the sizing of the sidewalk, and we were able to extend the curb line along Connolly Street out to provide a full 5-foot clear on the sidewalk as they pass in front of those trees. We do have one additional tree that is going at this location to sort of mimic the tree pits that are the existing along the roadway. Grading will be pretty much maintained along Connolly Street. It sort of flows towards this property and then north and south to existing structures. The installation of the curb will not interfere with the proposed drainage in that area. Additionally, as part of our work, we plan to reconstruct the sidewalk ramps located at this location in here, as well as reconstructing the sidewalk, repaint the crosswalk. The work out on Morrissey Boulevard is dictated by the DCR. We do have current approvals for work out on the DCR property to close off the driveways that extend up onto Morrissey Boulevard. Be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you very much, commissioners.
Chief, sorry. Your sidewalk treatments on Connolly takes it all the way to Morrissey Boulevard, correct? Because
yes, sir.
It's those sections AA and BB that are more closer, but you're carrying that detail all the way to Morrissey, yes?
Yes.
Thank you, Michael.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for the presentation. I was wondering if you could provide a little bit more clarity on 2 points with the utility pole that exists on the street where it says contractor shall coordinate with utility company to adjust a utility within the sidewalk limit. Does that mean that the pole is going to be relocated? We just want a little bit more specific on that, as well as I think the northernmost tree pit, it still looks like there is a 4.5 foot pinch point. Wondering if there's any possibility of gaining an extra half a foot there.
Thank you for that. The 4.5 foot is actually an error in the dimension. The dimension string doesn't pull to the face, so it does. We do in fact have the full 5 feet at that location. That's there, and we can adjust the dimension.
Fantastic.
Relative to the utility pole is to remain. There are a number of existing sort of handholds and gas gates that are in the sidewalk are in the pavement now. Those will need to be adjusted up so that they are flush with the proposed sidewalk.
Sorry. What is the pinch point between the utility pole and the tree?
Is this scale? This is 20. 1 second. Three feet, but that's the symbol. I will have to take a look. I think that symbol is much larger than what the utility pole actually is in that location.
Is there any way that the city can help the proponent coordinate with the utility company to get it to the back of the sidewalk, just so folks aren't weaving in and out?
We can ask, but if folks have been down there, the utility lines that run down the side of Connolly are a mess of wires. There's a large amount of wires that sit on those poles. So I'm not sure whether that can be pushed back, not to mention they're all sort of intertwined with those existing trees that are out there.
So that also doesn't sound like a safe situation, but keep walking it to you.
Yeah, I would also note that that pole appears to be leaning or bent in some capacity. So I think what we would ask is that the proponents reach out to Verizon or Eversource or whoever the owner is of that pole and sort of help us get a clearer read on what it would take to relocate that to the back of the sidewalk. We very much appreciate the creation of a accessible sidewalk in this area, but it would be a shame if that was marred by a utility pole that functionally made it inaccessible. So we obviously don't want to burden this important project with additional unnecessary expense, but my hope is that we can come to some resolution in cooperation with the utilities to ensure that this gets moved in such a way that it supports accessibility and safety for the utilities as well.
Yep. We can also evaluate what the clear distance is around. It's a little difficult to do with the symboling of the survey, so we can coordinate to make sure that we have a proper sizing of those utility structures shown on the plans and provide actual clearances. We may also be able to slide the tree pit a bit if we are close.
And Mike, we're happy to assist in getting you in touch with Verizon, who I believe is the owner of that pole. So
okay. I presume it's the same folks that we had initially reached out to during the PIC process, or if there's somebody different?
There'd be somebody different. I'll put you in touch with Karen Lebeck.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, Todd.
Sure.
Commissioners, other questions or comments? Hearing none, PIC staff or members of the public?
All set?
All right, thank you very much. Will you be ready for your public hearing in 3 weeks on February 29th?
Yes, we will, sir.
Perfect. Thank you. We will see you then.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. On to our next item of business. New business number 2, 660 Tremont Street, Boston proper, granted location on a petition by Verizon New England Incorporated. Would the petitioners please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and walk us through what is being proposed here?
There we go. Good morning. My name is Ross Bilodeau, representing Verizon New England. Our first item here is we're trying to replace a 1 4-inch conduit with city shadow from an existing manhole 243 located on Tremont Street to a new shared handhole with Extenet to provide fiber services for a small cell site.
Thank you, Ross. So I will note that this project cuts through a area that the city has recently completed a major reconstruction of at great difficulty and expense. And so I want to just talk a little bit about how you're going to construct this to not damage or interfere with this brand new infrastructure in the form of the bike lanes, the concrete islands, the new crosswalks that this proposed route traverses. Can you say a little bit more about the route and about your expectations for impacts and restoration associated with this proposed project?
Sure, understood. You know, I do know that we'll have to, you know, restore to how it's built now. I was not privy that this was recently reconstructed, to be honest with you. So I can certainly speak on that at the follow-up here in 2 weeks.
That would be appreciated if you can dig into that with your construction team. A couple of specific asks associated with this. One is if you are going to be trenching the bike lane to ensure that you do a full curb-to-curb resurfacing of that bike lane and a replacement of any markings on that bike lane that are interrupted. There was some amount of marking work that was not completed prior to the end of last construction season and will be completed in the spring. So depending upon your timing for this project, the city would be happy to provide you with pavement plan, marking plans so that you can restore it as was intended by the final design. But the condition today may be missing some markings that will be part of the final project. So that's something that we would just want you to restore. That's request one. Request two is this appears to traverse very close to constructed, a number of constructed median islands, 4 on the north side of the street and 1 on the south side of the street. So we'd like confirmation from you that about how you intend to do this trenching and what, if any, impacts you expect this will have on those constructed islands. We really want to make sure that if those are impacted in any way, that they are fully restored in their intended configuration. And then I think 3 is just to confirm, and this is maybe something we can follow up with Extenet on, but as part of the project, all of the streetlights along this stretch of Tremont Street were replaced with a newer style of streetlight. And so we want to confirm that the final small cell pole installation will be installing a small cell that is consistent with the current street lighting design rather than the old design that was there. And I realize that's a little bit of an Extenet thing as well, but just since you're here for this, if you can reach out to them and confirm that with them as well, that would be appreciated. Those are my specific requests related to the impacts on this new project.
To add to the trenching piece, the one that's behind the islands, I think that should be resurfaced between those 2 curbs in there so that there's not a trench in this now newly, right, like
Yes.
right you want to ride.
Yes, exactly. This project was a bear, so we're very sensitive to getting torn up. Commissioners, other questions, comments?
Ross, in addition to what was articulated by the chair, keeping in mind that this is a brand new cycle accommodation, cycle pathway, the sensitivity to construction defects and all the time periods between your digging, your patching, and near final restoration. The experience of a cyclist is far more profound and consequential than if this cut was on the roadway where a car's tires. So we want your contractor that you are hired to take extra caution to leave the state of functionality of that surface from the day you cut it until you put it back the way it needs to be. So there's that time period in between where a cyclist shouldn't have to experience something that is less than what the city had given them.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm gonna add one additional thing that Para reminded me of, which is because of the nature of this design where you have bikes kind of sort of stuck behind parked cars and constructed islands, detours out of a bike facility like this can be very tricky if they are not thoughtfully planned through. Because what we sometimes will see with this sort of situation is somebody just kind of putting a block across the bike lane, and bikes have to thread their way through parked cars into an active travel lane. So as you are developing your management plan for this project, please make sure that your engineering team gives very thoughtful attention to how to create safe bike detours for somebody who may be approaching the construction site and need to, if it is blocked, if the lane is blocked, either detour into the travel lane, the vehicular travel lane, or if possible, a separated bike lane, maybe taking some of the parking for a period of time during construction. But that's just an area we want to make sure people aren't put in an unsafe situation during construction. So please make sure that's incorporated into your plan.
Can the run just be moved to the road?
Exactly. Like put it onto the south side of the street.
Yeah, right above that drain.
Like completely on the opposite side on the travel path. Ross, if I have like a no-fly zone for the bike path, sort it out. Okay?
Understood. Okay.
Like move
Sure.
the whole damn, sorry, nice words, move your long run on Tremont Street to the bottom part of the plans.
Sure.
The other thing that might give you a benefit on, I don't know if you've consulted with parks yet or not on the street trees, but you may be in the root zone of those trees in the current path, and putting it in the street might help you avoid any impacts on street trees.
Sure.
All right. Commissioners, any final comments, questions? PAC staff, members of the public?
All set here.
All right, will you be ready for your public hearing in 3 weeks on February 29th?
I certainly hope so. Yeah, I'll be ready. I'll have to represent this as you guys have dictated here to this path to the south side here. So
Appreciate the work on this one. Thank you.
thank you.
On to, all right, we'll see you in 3 weeks on this one. On to new business number 3, 16th Street at 300 First Avenue, Charlestown, granted location. And a petition by Verizon New England Incorporated. Would the petitioners please reintroduce themselves and give us an overview of what is proposed here?
Yes, good morning again. Ross Bilodeau representing Verizon New England. Verizon is looking to place one 4-inch Schedule 40 PVC pipe from existing stubs at our point A as shown on plan at the corner of 16th Street and 5th Ave, running to our second sheet here to a customer placed handhole on the property line for 300 First Ave. This is to serve this 300 First Ave building.
Commissioners, questions?
Ross, is that building the Spalding Rehab Center?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, off the top of my head.
Yeah, Ross, again, check it out because the surface treatments on First Ave may be different. I mean, I can't quite make it out. So again, the there were extraordinary understandings between the city and the Spalding Rehab Center when that got built up. And I'm a little bit baffled as to the need for it, because I thought we cleared all the utility needs and telecom needs and all of that good stuff. So just go take a look at it, because it's very new, not yesterday new, but there was a significant investment in all parties' resources in this area, and chopping up First Ave might be fun, might not be fun. That's all.
Understood.
To Para's point, there also appears to be some specialty sidewalk materials in use right at that approach to that what's marked as steel structure. So making sure that those are restored appropriately will be part of that as well.
Additionally, to Para's point, this is right outside Spalding Rehab Center, so just being super mindful of construction detours and ensuring their accessibility is especially important in this location.
Sure.
All right, PAC staff, members of the public?
For the record, I believe this is indeed servicing Spalding Rehab Center, and I will say that we do have a LMI agreement with Spalding Rehab for all of the specialty improvements within 16th Street. So hopefully that's a non-issue.
Great. All right, hearing no other questions, will you be ready for your public hearing in 3 weeks on February 29th?
Yes, I will be there.
All right, let's see you then. On to new business number 4, 35 Avenue Louis Pasteur, Roxbury, granted location on a petition by Verizon New England Incorporated. Would the petitioners please introduce themselves and their affiliations and give us an overview of what you are proposing to do here?
Yes, once again, Ross Bilodeau representing Verizon New England. Verizon is looking to place one new 4-inch conduit with city shadow from our existing manhole 354D located on Louis Pasteur at the corner of Black Fan Street. This is to be run to a shared handhole with Extenet, again to provide services to this area for a small cell site.
Commissioners, questions? All right, hearing none, PIC staff or members of the public?
I think we're all set on this.
All right, excellent. Will you be ready for your public hearing in 3 weeks?
Yes, I will be. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you on February 29th. Thank you, Ross.
All right, thanks.
And on to our last item of business, new business number 5, Senator Bowling Circle, Snowden Way, West Roxbury roadway betterments, and a set of petitions by the abutters. Public hearing to be scheduled for Monday, March 4th, 2024 at the Perkins Community Center, 155 Talbot Avenue, Dorchester at 6 p.m. Would the petitioners please introduce themselves, or is this no? This is a matter. This is a PIC matter. So Todd, go ahead, take it away.
Sure. This is a set of roadway betterments. These are existing private ways, and the abutters have petitioned the PIC to consider upgrading them to be public ways. We've had countless meetings with the abutters as well as a number of elected officials. We've explained the process and how all of this works. We have the public hearing scheduled for March 4th in the evening out in the community. During that time, we will hold a vote by the abutters. They've all received their assessment letters, and they will get to choose whether these streets will remain private or go public. And if they do go public, the city will reconstruct them to conform to current public way standards.
Todd, for the record, average lot size as it fronts Senator Bowling Circle is 50 feet or 100 feet, roughly, plus or minus?
Yeah, the average frontage is probably in the range of 60 to 70 feet.
Got it. And the average price per homeowner for the improvements that are being asked for them to share is roughly?
Yep, that varies pretty wildly. Some properties actually have frontage on 2 streets. There are a few properties that are still owned by the developer who is still working on constructing some of these homes. So that's kind of all over the place.
But for that average 60-foot frontage property owner on Bowling, roughly,
That's probably in the range of $4,000 to $5,000.
That's, so that is what's needed, okay? And for the record, these streets were approved by the Public Improvement Commission back in 2002 or thereabouts as private ways to be rebuilt, to be built by the developer.
Correct. 2003 they were.
2003. So now the abutters are petitioning the Public Improvement Commission to accept it as to city standards, no, to make it public, and then there are these elements within the roadway that needs to be brought to current standards.
Correct. Correct. And just for a little context, here you go. These are the streets off of Harvard Street in the Mattapan neighborhood.
All of those were laid out as private ways open to public travel at the petition of the developer some years back. Okay.
Yep. And we are still looking to secure 1 or 2 final commission members to attend that hearing on March 4th at Perkins Community Center. So if you haven't heard from me already, you will very soon.
Just as prior practice, we need a minimum quorum to open a public hearing. The full commission doesn't need to be there, but a minimum.
Correct.
Okay.
Great. Looking forward to that hearing. So seeing no other people on the call who are not members of the commission or staff, I think we are, I don't think there's any further comment needed on this, but we will move ahead with that as scheduled. With that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Re-